this is a continuation of my bump stop video I did the other day. In that video, I showed you how to align all your eyelids. And of course, the best way to align your eyelids is to go with electric conversion. But this is a 40,000 original mile, one owner, original paint, California black plate car. Borderline a museum piece. I want to keep it original here. So I'm going to stray away from original just for the sake of preservation and put the bump stop kit on. And of course, the only time you'll ever see the bump stop kit is when this is open. But what do we do with this mess? I don't want to pull this whole grill off and try to do it on the bench, and that's probably not the best way to do it anyway. Look at this alignment over here. So my bump stop kit is going to bring this eyelid where it's supposed to be, but the reason this is this way is because the factory, we're gonna call this correcting a factory error. From the factory, they gave you two adjustable stops. This one, of course, is, you know, when you open it, and it stops, well, we'll have to show you in this car. But the more important one, the one that's causing the problems, is this one. When you go down, it's pressing there. So what happens is in time, this rubber stop wears out, gets collapsed. What do? You get out and you adjust this down further. Collapse more, you adjust it down further. At the same time, look what it's doing to that metal. Look at that soft metal. You can just see that flex. And each time you're pushing the grill down here, it's got to give somewhere. It's going here. So your grill, this being all bolted here firmly to the center grill, it's a rigid stout piece here, firmly to your bucket here and here. This place isn't the weak link. This tiny little area over here is the weak link. So it's pulling this out. So we're no longer to be using, this is our stop mechanism. The new stops will be down here. I'm going to go ahead, and I'm not going to show you on video how to put this bump stop kit in. I did that in the other video. I'm going to quickly put on the bump stop kit, and I'm going to show you how to straighten this literally in minutes for no money. So this 40,000 mile car is getting so bad that the actuators are having to fight friction here. Listen to that. That's how tight the tolerances are right here. So this needs to be done. You're going to start grinding through the casting. You're going to get to a point where your headlights won't even open. You're putting extra work on your actuators, and it looks ugly. So let's fix this. So I got a good heat gun here. This is a variable temperature one. I can dial in the temperature right here. I don't know what the Harbor Freight ones do. They're probably good enough, but I like to set mine. This will go up to 1,000 degrees. I like to set mine to 850, and it's important to warm up the molecules in there. I'm not going to go into the science on why metal is more malleable when it's hot than cold, but probably the best time to do this is in the direct sunlight on a 100-degree day after you've been driving your car. Then the whole area is warm. But on this spring day, this is going to work. So I think we're up to temperature. And this is the area that's affected right here. So this is the area we're going to put some heat to. We're going to try to get back into that region back there. And probably no more than, I don't know, 4 minutes or so. Probably be even better if I'd left these off, then I could get directly into the casting better. So what I'm going to have to end up doing is I'm exaggerating. So this gap up here is exaggerated on how far I want it out. And as I tighten it, I'm exaggerating down here. So I'm bringing it further than it needs to be at the top and tighter in together as it needs to be in the bottom. And I've learned the hard way that it's better to stop and take it all apart and assess it than to go overboard, because you don't want to be bending your grill out and then back in and then back out. You're just going to break it. So your goal is little bending as possible. So I'm going to let it sit here for a minute like this before I go any further. I'm going to take it off, and I'm pretty sure what I'm going to see is it's going to need more, but I want to be careful not to overdo it. So I'm just going to let it set for a few minutes as it cools. Okay, let's see what kind of progress we made here. Much, much, much better. Look at that gap. We had 0 gap there and a mile there. Now we're getting back to reasonable, but I actually want it to be a bigger gap up here than down here, because inevitably 2 or 3 days later it does relax back a little bit. So let's look over here. Pull this screwdriver out. This one didn't come out as good. I need to notice I put more heat on that side than this side. So this time I'm going to focus on getting my heat gun back here more. So let's go ahead and do the whole process over again. Having this lid open gets you a direct path. Okay, I got a lot of pressure on this. That is tight. So I'm just going to let this set again until it cools and recheck it and see how much closer to day of birth it is. Okay, this is the moment of truth. This is like when you're a kid getting your braces off and smiling into the camera. So let's see if round number 2 is enough, or maybe there has to be a round number 3. We're going to find out if we can get this Dollar Tree ratchet strap undone. Okay, this is about where I want it. This gap down here is just a hair smaller than this gap up here. But I assume after I run the car and look at it a few days later, I assume it's going to be spot on. If it's not, I'll go ahead and do it one more time. It doesn't cost much to get the heat gun out again, but look at how straight that is. And now that we've taken the pressure off that upper bump stop, and now we're doing it down here, I don't anticipate that coming back. As of 2019, I think we got a new policy. If you submit your car to be in our annual calendar and it has a jacked up grill on your 67 and 8, you're going to be immediately rejected, and we're going to send you a free set of bump stop kits and say, please go back to the park and retake your pictures. Okay, I want to do a little addendum to this video. So we got this portion straightened out with the bump stops. We got our gaps looking pretty good. But there's one more thing. If you sight down, if I look down right here, I'm going to notice a little elevation difference. Now this car is actually not that bad, but notice on my straight edge here, I'm touching on these bars, but look at that gap there. So I'm touching right here, touching right here, touching on these, but look at the gaps there. So what's happened is this is out of adjustment, and we got a hinge and we got an eyelid, and there's multiple fine threaded bolts in the back that we need to loosen so we can bring this up. And on some of them I noticed there's not enough adjustment to make it line up good, so you have to oblong the holes. Let me show you my other two cars while we're at it, both 6.7s, and I don't know why, but for some reason it seems like I have this problem more on 6.7s and more on the passenger side. Maybe it's just luck of the draw the last several cars I've had, but this one, the elevation seems about right as I sight down this line of vision right here. Now, we can't do much with these end pieces. These are the ones that really get tweaked around, so they ended up a lot of times riding higher, and there's no adjustment on that, but we can do something about this. Okay, I've got my straight edge on this one, and you're going to see the elevation is substantial. This piece isn't as jacked on this one as it is some, but let me move it on over here. And yeah, that whole eyelid needs to come up. I'm going to say that's more than 1/8 of an inch on that side. Let's go ahead and look at this side. And this one too is kind of wacky. This one's worse than I thought it was. Let's go look at my white car over here. Now this is my daily driver. I've already done the bump stops, already did the ratchet strap here. And I decided to see, I didn't think it could be done, but I decided to take this door off while leaving the grill on the car. Whereas I was able to accomplish it, it wasn't worth it. I had to take off this fender extension, unbuckle everything that holds this lid on, and then get it up a little bit. And then I had to separate the tin hinge from the die-cast piece. So that was a lot of work, so just not worth it. But here's my end result. This was way off, and I think we have some pictures in our file photos of what this was before. But let's look at the elevation on this one. It went from way off to better. So I'll show you what I did on this car on the bench over there. Okay, here's a 67 passenger side eyelid, and as I'm going through my used ones, I noticed that some of them, the die cast and the tin, are almost level, and some of them are skewed. They'll be high on this side, low on this side. So there is some adjustment from the factory right here. And I notice also that the factory didn't put a screw in there. So don't think that you are missing a screw just because you don't see it there. Okay, here's my hinge. Now immediately you will notice two different sizes of screws on this casting. Know that the big ones have to travel through this casting before they hit the threads, thus the longer travel. And then on this screw, all it has to do is go through the tin before it hits the threads. So the short screws, bolts go here, the long ones up here. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We want more adjustment on these, and from my experience, excuse me, it goes like this. These eyelids sit too low, so we got to raise the eyelid on here, which means I need to oblong these holes. And I forgot to show you. I'll put the screw back in place here. Once this screw is loosened, you'll immediately notice that there is a little bit of factory adjustment, but not enough. So we're going to have to put this in the vise and correct that factory error. Make sure you start out with a sharp drill bit. This is a little bit time consuming, and do know that your drill could wander to the left or right. You're trying to go straight up. Okay. When we started, the grill was more like this. And now that we've oblonged the holes, look how much more travel I have and I can adjust with. And this will take some trial and error, and this is another reason you probably have to take your grill off and, you know, try adjustment here, here, everywhere, and then try it on the grill on your bench. So this is for that person that's got some advanced skills and isn't afraid to tackle a hard job. This job right here, this getting a little bit higher eyelid, is going to take more effort and more time than all the other grill adjustments and alignment things I've showed you combined. So this is for that guy that really wants to get it right on. So I hope this helped you and came up with some solutions for your crooked grill. Thank you.